I'm gonna stand, but wait until we'll have to edit this out.
Okay.
Okay.
Start now. Hey guys, this is Adam. I'm here with Susan, and we're going to go over part 1 of module 1, our first section, precautions. The precautions that we should all take to avoid getting pressure wounds as wheelchair users. Under precautions, we have weight shifts that I'm sure anyone watching this that's chair bound has probably received some type of recommendation as to how often you should weight shift, and such an incredibly important piece, probably the most important piece. If you're unable to feel underneath your pelvic areas and other bony prominences that are likely to present wounds at some point, you're going to want to weight shift quite often, and you probably already have a mandate for that from your physician, but very, very important. Can't get around weight shifting. I myself, because I'm where I'm at this point, I'm no longer on a chest strap, so I'm able to shift my weight by leaning forward, and I have a custom molded cushion so that it picks my pelvis up out of the cushion when I lean forward, so it's a very effective weight shift method. Early on, I was on a chest strap, did not have the ability to lean forward without being stuck in my own lap. So I did the typical weight shift every 15 minutes for 90 seconds, and tilting my power chair back. So it's been very nice to improve in that way, and to be able to weight shift when I needed. Another thing that goes right along with weight shifts is evaluating all the surfaces that you contact, especially ones that you are in contact with for perhaps a long period of time, especially without any movement. So you'll have static pressure on any bony prominences that are between your weight and where you're placing your weight. Basically a pressure wound happens when there's enough pressure, usually on a bony prominence, that it cuts off the blood circulation to that area, and so that area starts to become starved of oxygen. Then cells start to die very quickly, and typically it forms an abscess on the inside of you that unfortunately has to slowly work its way to the surface and then become a big nasty open wound. Evaluating any surfaces that you're transferring on, even intermittently, your bedding, your cushion in your chair, basically anywhere you sit or lie down for more than 15 minutes. So
Adam, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Does it matter when you're saying surfaces, we're talking about hard or soft, not necessarily the type of material? Like if you're on something more slippery versus a soft cotton, does that matter?
Yes, it does matter somewhat. There's something called shear pressure, which is anytime something pulls your skin sideways or moves perpendicularly against your body's positioning, that's called shear pressure. Like if you pulled your pants up and your pants were really tight, that could present shear pressure. Or if you sleep on a very soft Tempur-Pedic bed and then you tilt the bed up really high, you're going to dig any bony prominences that you might have are going to really dig into the mattress and load up pressure there. And if you sit there for too long, you're going to end up with a pressure wound. I got my very first pressure wound exactly in that way, sitting up too long in a Tempur-Pedic bed, not realizing until the next morning that I had been there far too long.
How many hours does it take necessarily if you stay in a position too long that it possibly could start forming one of those inside wounds?
Yeah, I would have to default to the typical 15-minute rule that any surface that you're on without moving, without changing your positioning or relieving pressure, really you shouldn't remain in that position for more than 15 minutes. So that means you have to be very selective with where you do put your weight and for how long you have it there.
Does it matter, obviously, whether you're super thin like you versus somebody that has a little more meat on their bones?
Yeah, people that have a little more body mass typically do much better with pressure wounds because they are naturally padded. I myself atrophied quite a bit, and I was already very slender before my injury, so I dramatically lost weight, making me really bony and really increasing the probability of pressure wounds. And I ended up with 8 stage 4 pressure wounds concurrently. So we're hoping that anyone watching this doesn't have to go through that. So pressure relief is the next thing on the list. You know, anytime we're positioning or sitting, anytime you're static in one spot, whether you're riding along in a car and you're in a normal car seat, whether you're in your wheelchair, in perhaps a very customized cushion for you, or whether or not you're in bed, regardless of how nice your bed might be, relieving pressure is very, very important. In my particular case, a lot of my sensation came back, so I'm able to use sensation to know when I need to shift my weight. So that's made it easier for me in recent years as my sensation got better. In the earlier years, I couldn't feel much around my pelvis, so I relied on skin checks by other people to visually inspect my skin, and a routine of pressure relief. So a lot of you probably, if you're unable to reposition yourself, you're probably advised to be repositioned by others every 4 hours at night, or some variant of that. I have a family and a wife that has to go above and beyond to kind of help me stay healthy and moving forward. So we've kind of been forced a little bit to see what we can get away with. So I kind of figured out how soon I could get away with 8 hours at a time without getting any pressure relief, but that's a big decision to make, and hopefully one that can be made clearly and well informed, so that you don't accidentally end up with a pressure wound, because once you get one pressure wound, you very quickly run out of other places to place your weight in that pressure. So it's so important not to get that first wound, because it can be quite a snowball effect from there. Okay, so that's relieving pressure. Skin checks.
I have a question because you're saying you need to shift your weight every 15 minutes to avoid a pressure wound. But if you're sleeping and you have your caretaker moving you every 4 hours, is there a different status your body goes to when you're sleeping, so it's not as much of a concern? Or because you can't possibly shift every 15 minutes when you're sleeping.
I think my understanding is that what most people are advised to do is shift weight every 4 hours. In bed, ideally you're doing a lot of positioning in bed, what we've referred to as turn pillows. You can shim part of your pelvis up with a pillow so that you're placing more weight on your glute than on your tailbone or your sacrum. The sacrum and the ischial tuberosities are probably the most common places to get wounds, probably the sacrum more than any other place.
So the sacrum is here, and ischial, what was the other one you said?
Ischial tuberosity, so the sit bones. The two sit bones
right
and the sacrum are the 3 points that you put most of your weight on when you're seated. So those are obviously going to be any place that doesn't have much meat or tissue between any bony prominence and the surface is going to be the most at risk for blood circulation interruption, oxygen starvation, and then subsequently skin breakdown and necrotic tissue abscess growth, which is definitely not where you want to. You don't want to let it get that far.
So you have a custom-made cushion.
I have a custom molded cushion that's 3D scanned and mapped, and it's carved out on a CNC machine, carved out of a solid chunk of foam.
Okay.
So it's a fairly stiff, fairly firm cushion, but it's perfectly molded to my body, so it equally distributes my weight and intentionally avoids areas that are the most problematic when it comes to pressure.
Is there a website we could refer people to get one of those?
Custom cushion, it would be good to look at Aspen CT. They're in Denver, in Aurora, and they do a lot of custom molding buckets for sit skiers. So it's the most advanced seating that you can get, in my opinion. There are some places, some PT departments that shy away from using custom cushions because they are stiff, and if you're transferred into them improperly and don't know how to check your positioning, you could end up being sat in the seat in a way that would lead to a pressure wound. So it's really important to have some wherewithal, if you have a custom molded cushion, to make sure that your body is properly aligned in that cushion. But if it is, typically your ischial tuberosities are free and clear, not touching anything. Your sacrum should be carved out so that it has no pressure on it whatsoever. And you want most of your weight on your glutes and your hamstrings.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Skin checks.
We mentioned this earlier, but skin checking is very important. You've probably been advised on this already. Especially when there's a lack of sensation, we need outside help to visually inspect our skin in the areas, especially around our pelvis and our heels. A lot of people get pressure wounds on their heels because of the way their shoes are or the way their feet are tucked, especially in manual chairs. Manual chair users seem to get a lot of heel pressure wounds. So really all bony prominences of the body, but anywhere you have weight for a significant amount of time should be visually checked. Twice a day is what most people are advised to do. You've probably been advised on that already, like I said, but skin checks are incredibly important because if you go without that, it can get nasty fast. Overnight, you can have a wound. So within every 12-hour period, it'd be good to be well aware of how your skin's looking.
All bones that touch anything.
If you do have emerging sensation, or if a lot of your sensation is intact, you may be able to tell on your own whether or not you need to check your skin or pressure relief, but it's always a great idea to get some eyes on things and to double check, because it's just something that we can't mess around with.
Alright, let's take a break right here.
Okay.
And tune into the next video. We're going to pick up where we left off on transfers.